Hello everyone. In this section we'll be covering fundamentals and the major catalysts for options trading. So to begin, we'll give a brief definition of fundamentals, which is a formal analysis of the core of a business by investors to verify, modify, or acquire a trading position. So essentially what you're doing is just watching news and critically thinking about what are the fundamentals of a company and what are the changes that may be able to affect price action. So this may include revenue, growth, and loss, fluctuation in the share price, and analyzing the corporate overview, so viewing what is the company's goals, what is its purpose, and what is its missions, and is it expanding into other realms of business. This is done by usually analyzing fiscal reports or earnings reports, and then looking to see if the business is looking into expanding into other ventures for the company. So the first major catalyst is analyst upgrades and downgrades. So they occur when a financial analyst, they basically look at an estimation of the current and future valuation of the stock's price based on fundamental and technical factors, and they issue a buy, hold, or sell. So they often contain a price target, which can be your take profit zone, and they can be used to verify, reconsider, or consider an investment in a particular asset. So the next major catalyst is economic data reports, and they are used to gauge sectors of the economy. So you can actually look at these by looking at the SPY live news featured on Thinkorswim. So just type in SPY, and there will be weekly releases of manufacturing indices, housing numbers, initial jobless claims, producer price index, and consumer price index, and you can find some positions based on these. Next is earning reports, which is a very major catalyst. They're typically quarterly earnings reports that report their net income, revenue, and earnings per share. And they're used to gauge the company's health in the near term and future. So the best thing to do is look for the most established companies, and they publish their earnings reports online, and you can look at past earnings reports to make a critical decision on how you want to invest in the long term. A good website to know is Earnings Whisper, and they have a little bit of information about their earnings. So major market moving news and what it might look like. So basically you want to look on CNBC, Yahoo Finance, or SPY on the live news feature on Thinkorswim. And this is going to show you some articles that may affect investor sentiment on a particular company. So some things you can look out for also is some industrial and environmental factors that affect global resources in the supply chain. Also, you can look at geopolitical quarrels between nations such as North Korea, Iraq, or Russia, and Ukraine. Anytime there's any major passing of legislation that may affect taxes as well affects the stock market, etc. So it's important to identify these factors and to rationally assert the underlying effect of the market based on this news, and to either modify or identify some positions based on this news. So some examples we said earlier: geopolitical tensions such as terrorism, war, and land disputes. Anytime there's anything with the government, so releasing a stimulus, COVID news, vaccine news, anything with taxation, passing of legislative policy, economic sanctions on countries, and tariffs and quotas. Also, anything to do with politics, especially U.S. politics, presidential races. There's often volatility with presidential races, since we saw with Trump in the Biden election. The European Union, any disputes that may arise with them. Countries leaving, countries joining the European Union, and anything to do with North Korea. So for some internal factors for companies, anytime that there's investor meetings or demonstrations, one good example of this is when Tesla actually had their Cybertruck, and when Elon Musk broke the window, there was negative investor sentiment based on that. So anytime a company like Apple, Microsoft, etc. holds live events, this is definitely a good thing to look out for, and analyze the price action based on these announcements. Anytime there's internal restructuring of CEOs of any of the top valued positions of a company, usually investor sentiment will be affected by that. Anytime a company expands into different ventures, like looking at electrical vehicles, like such for the example of Ford, this is usually positive. Anytime there's an initial public offering in mergers of companies and partnerships. Some things to look on the economic and global affairs. Anytime there's resource shortages, and the biggest case that we've had is the health crisis with COVID-19. Any release of any variants, any news surrounding that with the vaccine and its effectiveness of the various COVID, what is it called? COVID variants, sorry. And then anything with the Federal Reserve. So always be on the lookout when Jay Powell speaks. Jerome Powell, which is the Federal Reserve Chairman, there is definitely an increased volatility whenever there's the Federal Reserve meetings. So analyze the money supply, the dollar strength, bonds, and interest rates, because these do affect the investor sentiment. Anytime there's any big natural disasters that may affect oil rigs and such can be an example of market moving news. Data breaches as well. Anytime there's a hacking or any releasing of information. I remember the big one that I remember is Sony and their data breaches. So money might rotate in or out of cybersecurity stocks. And anytime there's legal disputes, so like with the example of the Big Five, the antitrust hearings, which Apple, and any controversy that may arise from that. So let me show you some actual news sources. So you have CNBC. You can go here onto their website. You can also download the mobile app and receive notifications. So you can go through and see investing news, various investing news here, look at text, look at the different things. Always look at CNBC. And with Thinkorswim, there is on the Analyze tab in the fundamentals. If you ever come across a company that you don't know, let's just say for Ford, for example, you can come and type in the ticker here. It'll give you a little bit of the company profile, some earnings numbers, and some very important information. You can come here, some latest news, the business summary, and things of the different ventures they're coming into, luxury cars and such. So this is a good source. And what I was mentioning earlier with the Thinkorswim Live news feature, this is right here. So what I like to do is type in SPY or any other major indice and come here and analyze here. Here's a building permit, which was an example of the economic reports that I mentioned. So this is U.S. Building permits, and then other various news as well. That's about it for fundamentals, and thank you.